Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check, all in one place. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With more than 2 decades of experience, with a simple and ambitious goal, to pioneer a better way of working. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. No cost to join. You can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with the top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.
This is Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the Funbelt Podcast.
This is the Funbelt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Folks, to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It's
Am I introducing us? Is that what we're doing?
Sure. Why not? Because you know what, Jeremy? I'm just a broke FCS school.
Yeah. I don't think you have the money to introduce this podcast. I don't think you even have the personnel at this moment. You got guys doing double duty. Shane Metlin is here with us tonight from the Daily News Record. Tibbs is with us with the Warhawk Report. My name is Jeremy Harper. You probably already heard the introduction. But you know what? See, the Sunbelt, Shane, I don't know. You're kind of the newbie. You probably don't understand that there's always a flux. Input of good news, an output of bad news. It's really just sort of, like an equilibrium. Like sometimes you get good news, like, hey, we're getting some new guys into the Sunbelt. That's great. Sometimes you get some odd news. Like maybe you lose a AD unexpectedly. Maybe a coach is suddenly named the interim AD. I'm talking about the Warhawks. I'm talking about ULM. Dusty Thibodeau is going to give us some insight of what the heck is going on. Thibodeau, give us like the 30,000-foot view.
Hartwell was the athletic director of ULM for 2.5 years.
Did some good stuff.
Did some great stuff.
Yeah.
He, like all of us, except for James Madison, who, of course, just has their own money press. And apparently App State does as well, because they're the only ones that are able to comment on any kind of financial issues on the X. But for us common folks, having to do budgeting and figure out how to make, God forbid, the academic side of the institution whole, had to cut some money from athletics.
Sometimes you have to do that.
Sometimes you have to do that. Well, maybe to Hartwell's defense and not defense, he had certain projects that he wanted funded and wanted to do. Okay. He was unable to come into a common ground with the president, the new president.
Okay. Yeah.
And was basically told, you can get on board or you can GTFO. And we know which decision was made.
Okay. Went off to pursue other opportunities in the private sector. I believe that's how it was put. Am I correct?
Well, I mean, Jeremy, it's like the no coach is ever going to come out in a preseason press conference, right, and be like, guys, our team sucks. Yeah. Look, the uniforms don't even match. We'll be lucky if we show up to all games, let alone compete in them.
Yeah.
You're not going to say that. And so it's just like this right here, where it's a prepared statement of, everybody's shaking hands and making up and, sorry to see you go, best wishes, probably with gritted teeth, but still saying those things.
Now, Shane Metlin, I'm getting from Dusty that maybe there was I don't know, some snide remarks exchanged from certain fan bases, including James Madison, Appalachian State. You've got your fingers on the pulse of James Madison. Is James Madison willing to lend ULM some cash to get him over this hump?
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I think that maybe raises a more serious point.
Okay.
Like how much it means to the conference to kind of elevate things financially at a place like ULM. Because, I mean, like I said, I wrote this today. Like, the problem isn't, there's always going to be a team that is at the bottom, whether it be wise or the standings or whatever. But you want your bottom team to be at a certain level if you're going to compete for that playoff spot, if you're going to ever get a second team in the NCAA tournament or continue to have multiple bids in sports like volleyball and softball and baseball and things like that. You can't really let the bottom of the conference slip too far. And I'm not saying that to knock ULM, but I'm just saying, like, there's a certain level of financial commitment it's going to take to continue to exist at this level. And I don't necessarily blame administrators for being concerned with Hartwell's exit and for the reasons he's exiting. Fans are going to be fans. Like, most of them don't necessarily understand the ins and outs. Like, it's not that now I sound like I'm the elitist, like, saying that about fans.
We weren't going to say
anything.
He represents the fan base, Jeremy.
All message board fodder and Twitter fodder for a lot of these people that, are looking for a fight. But I don't know, to me, it was like a sad day because ULM, I felt like, was going in the right direction as an athletic department.
Sure.
It was still a tough sled for them, relatively speaking, compared to, JMU and ODU, where they do get more support from the state and their student bodies and things like that. They just do. But ULM was figuring out a way to be more competitive. And I think today, like, the main concern is, like, is that still going to be the case? Are they still going to have positive momentum going forward, or is this a step back?
Well, one of the things with ULM, Tibbs, is that this is nothing new that the Warhawks don't have a lot of money. I mean, they've never had like an ocean of money, but neither has anybody really in the Sun Belt historically have had a lot of money. It's always been a struggle with every program, an arms race to build an indoor facility, to fund the football team, to make sure you have those ancillary teams like your tennis team, which I believe the Warhawks had to give up. I mean, it's always been that way, especially for ULM. Is this anything new, Tibbs? Is this just another day in Monroe?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, I want to say the median income for Ouachita Parish in Monroe was like $42,000. It's like one of the lowest in the state, probably the lowest in the region. Shane, put on your journalism hat and start building that article of what's the median income of all these different Sunbelt Conference cities. And I think you would see that there's probably a pretty damn good reason why.
Yeah, I mentioned this in another piece relatively recently. This was more about like the addition of Louisiana Tech. But if you do look at kind of the East and the West, there is a little bit of a divide. Like the alumni and the students for the East Division schools. I mean, I was going to say, like, they're in Atlanta, they're in Raleigh and Charlotte and the Washington, D.C. area and Richmond. Those are rich cities, relatively. Like, those cities, like, have high, medium incomes. Like, and that makes a difference. And I mean, compared to, New Orleans or, Birmingham or the places that are kind of the population centers where your alumni go to work when they graduate, and then their kids become your student base. Like, I do think that makes a little bit of a difference, and it's tough. Like, and it's just kind of where things are right now. That I think that's part of the reason schools like Appalachian State are growing really fast, or, Georgia Southern has a really high enrollment and it's not really in danger of losing that enrollment. Like, part of it is because, there's strong growth industries in the state of Georgia and in the state of North Carolina and these places where the students are coming from and where the alumni are going to work.
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
I was going to say, I actually misspoke while Shane was holding up his elitist East Division thoughts. Quick Google search, so take it for what it's worth. Some podcasts make this juicy headlines and everything. Median income for Monroe, Louisiana, right at $22,000. Ruston is $17,000.
Man,
Lafayette $35,000.
okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. What is the median income, I wonder, in Jonesboro, Arkansas? Jonesboro, Arkansas. All right. In Jonesboro, it's $30,800. So
Hattiesburg, $24,000.
Uh-huh.
I'm not even going to look at Atlanta because I'm sure it's in the 60s to 80s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I do think maybe you should look more at less Monroe, but more New Orleans or Little Rock or Shreveport. And that was part of I think that's probably the biggest loss for Texas State. We've been over and over like what they've done on and off the field and the court and everything. We know what kind of athletic loss it was, but like losing that area of Texas where it just comes to like a school that had a huge enrollment and they were drawing kids from Austin and Dallas and cities that are kind of like the ones that I was talking about, or like, on the East Coast where, Raleigh and Charlotte and Atlanta are those kinds of, they provide you a strong base of where you can draw your students from. And I think the West did lose a little bit something in that regard when they lost Texas State, because, we joke about markets and everything. We're not TV markets don't really matter, but I think like as enrollment drops in a lot of places, the markets where you can draw students from and where you're going to get future donors from, I think that does matter.
I think in a lot of ways, it's the latter that matters, Shane. It's the future donors. A lot of schools, like take, Georgia State, for example. Georgia State is not it's trying to get there, but for a long time, not a destination campus, not a place where people wanted to stay and then graduate and then hold their heads up high and say, hey, I'm a Georgia State grad, because they didn't offer that sort of college experience that they might get somewhere else. So they worked hard about upgrading dormitories, upgrading campus life, upgrading Greek life, trying to build generations of people who will come back, look fondly on their years as Georgia State Panther people, and will become eventual successful people and donors, right? So that's something Arkansas State found out, back in the 90s, is that they had to hurry up and create a better campus atmosphere, or all those donation dollars just end up going to Arkansas, right? People graduating from Arkansas State would still claim Arkansas as their choice. So that's the key, is that you have to build that legacy. And schools like JMU have that legacy. Schools like Appalachian State have that legacy. My brother met some guys from Appalachian State. And you know what he said about those guys, Shane?
Can you say it on here?
Yes. He said they are very weird about Appalachian State, in that they are 1,000% Appalachian State men. They only work with Appalachian State grads. They only want to talk about Appalachian State. So there is a huge culture shift. I don't know how that is in Louisiana. I don't know if everybody thinks that, they're sort of LSU at heart or whatever. I don't know where, ULM grads end up donating their money later on? I don't know if that's the issue at all. Is it, Tibbs?
Well, so at least in my tenure of being there in the late 90s, the administration didn't care. They saw us just as numbers and revenue streams. We were not people, and if you dropped out tomorrow, great, there's somebody there that will replace you. But with that said, I think that a lot of people grow up in Louisiana wanting to be at LSU and as LSU fans. And so that's where the bulk of the money goes. That's why you still see the purple and gold roaming around campus. I know, Jeremy, we've had a lot of back and forth through the years on that.
Sure.
It sucks to see it, and I know part of my loyalty there to ULM is I definitely wouldn't be where I am professionally, personally, or anything else without the maroon and gold, whether it was the Indians when I started or Warhawks when I finally graduated. But that's why I'm loyal to my school. It built who I am today and really gave me the opportunities to be sitting here on a podcast with two other guys, one of which I've still never even met because he won't go to New Orleans.
He won't ever go to New Orleans. I don't
didn't go to Atlanta when I was there either. But
I tried.
Attitude coming back up.
Yep.
I think you raised another point too, though, is, when we're talking about why do you spend money on sports? Like all of these schools we're talking about, like maybe you can cook the books a little bit to make it look like you're doing okay when it comes to making money on sports, but nobody's making their school like significantly richer by investing a ton of money in their sports programs directly. You're probably going to lose money on most of your sports programs, but sports is your outlet for staying connected with ULM, isn't it, Tibbs? I mean, you want to stay connected there because of what they've done for you, and you're able to do that by going back to football games, by donating to that. Like, there's a homecoming game every year that draws people in. Or Tibbs and I talked about this on the phone yesterday. My parents are alumni of a Division II school, which they like. They appreciate that school. They appreciate their degrees and what they went on to do, but they're fans of a local Division I school, and they're not going back to campus very often. Like, they're visiting their kids on campus at their school. Like, and that's what having Division I athletic department does. I still say a lot of libraries and fine arts centers and everything get built because of what people do over a few drinks at a tailgate or in the president's box at a basketball game.
Isn't that what it boils down to, Tibbs? Is that's why let's just underscore this now. We're not seeing the Warhawks dropping out of FBS.
I don't see them dropping. I think, and I have not heard the latter. I want to make that clear. They're in the Sun Belt until they die, or they're killing everything, and it's just going to be a liberal arts and pharmacy school. I haven't heard the latter. So as far as I know, today, tomorrow, next week, next year, next decade, sorry, Shane, your fan base in the East is just stuck with us. They're going to have to come back to Monroe and get another loss.
Oh, yes. That's what I wanted to hear. I want to see some fight from Thibodeau.
Yeah. But the thing I still can't understand, look, it's ULM. I know that we're the horse that's still getting kicked and beat and everything else when it's down. We're only $12 million in the hole. Why is there not this huge outcry of Louisiana Lafayette that is $50 million in the hole?
There must be some sort of expectation that amount of money is not an insurmountable amount of money for UL or Louisiana to obtain, as opposed to the $12 million that ULM. That might as well be $1 trillion.
We're a pharmacy school. We should be slinging drugs left and right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Oil's up right now, so the petrol industry for Lafayette is kicking ass, and they'll be able to wipe it off. But
Well, so bottom line is that Warhawks aren't going anywhere. They've got some money problems. They're going to figure it out. Meanwhile, the interim AD is the kind of the hottest property in town. Brian
I'm
Vincent.
not there, Jeremy.
So do we know what Brian Vincent thinks about this new dual role? Has he made a comment?
I have not seen one, and I sent him a text or two, but I have not heard anything back from him, probably because he is now running the athletics of ULM and trying to get ready for St. Francis.
Yeah.
I don't care. People can say what they want. Oh, it's the cheap way out. This is dumb. Let me tell you, I think if there's anybody in that campus that could do it, it's him.
Sure.
And this is only – he's a guy that wants to constantly be challenged and to grow and learn more. He eventually wants to be, a head football coach at an Auburn, an Alabama, or whatever in the P4. You think that if he can show that at ULM, where there's no resources, he's able to win at football, able to run the athletic department, that they're not going to say, what can this guy not do when we give him all these resources?
I don't know. I'm sure he wants that challenge. If you beat Alabama, then that would really probably be what he needs to do, the final ribbon on that present there to seal his legend at ULM. Shane, what are these fans? Why are these fans on the East Coast giving ULM so much shit? Is it because it's a matter of the lowest, I don't know, a lowering tide lowers all ships? Is that kind of what that is?
I think it's really, really easy to just point to they've got the smallest budget in FBS, and how can you cut that budget and expect to compete?
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I also don't think, even hearing from an AD yesterday that they don't think they could compete and stay at FCS. But then I hear from another one who says I don't think they're going to save any money by going FCS instead of FBS. So why would they do that? I don't know. Like I said before, I think it's just kind of a sad situation if they really are going to cut the budget and lose Hartwell, because it did seem they were creeping in the right direction. It wasn't a meteoric rise, but let's give them credit. Hartwell came in there. He was taking on the challenge of having the lowest budget in the conference. He got the football program back to where they were competitive last year and have a good chance to go to a bowl game this year. He got his guy in there. We'll see how it works out, but he's got a guy in there that he trusts to run the basketball program. He's made 2 hires for women's basketball, and the first one went okay. He made a great softball hire.
Yeah.
They were it wasn't a meteoric rise, but it was a steady little climb, and that was good. And I think I just worry that all that momentum is lost now, and we'll see. But it's going to be tough if you cut that budget any more than you already have. I think you got to, like we were talking about before, realize that if you're going to play the game to have big time sports, that the payoff for that isn't necessarily immediate. It's in building your culture and keeping your alumni engaged years to come.
Let me say this also. You talked about cutting the budget. I think that there was a lot of fear mongering and wrong numbers that were thrown out there initially of the, $20 million budget, and they're going to cut 40 of it or whatever the numbers were.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to being about a $2 million budget, out of which just over 1 million's already been saved through not backfilling some positions in the athletic department. So we're not even talking about more active cuts or hard dollar cuts.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you where, this number, and like I said, I talked to some people who didn't really want to go on the record, but they'd heard that number or a number in that ballpark, that it was going to be a huge cut. Was that like presented? And I know that was presented to you, Tibbs. Was that presented in a way like, oh, we could say it's $6 million, but maybe that's actually over a 3 or 4 year period, not like a annual cut? Or like, how did that number come about? Because it does sound like it's a lot less while still significant.
Yeah, the only thing I can figure is that it's physical, and you're also trying to shave things before the calendar year. And so people were just adding numbers together instead of seeing what the big budgetary number is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Because I mean, I tend to think that number probably wasn't like just made up or pulled out of nowhere, but like that it was probably misleading. Is that safe to say?
I think so. And then you also have to remember that
Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check, all in one place. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. With more than 2 decades of experience, with a simple and ambitious goal, to pioneer a better way of working. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. No cost to join. You can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with the top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.
there was a disgruntled interim president that is very anti-athletics.
Ooh.
That he very well could have been putting out these numbers in hopes that they would stick.
Yikes. All right. Well, that's one situation, the Sun Belt, we have to keep an eye on.
That
right?
is
But the other situation to keep an eye on is that August practices are here. Yeah, the pads are on. If you listen closely, you can hear the smack of helmet hitting helmet.
That's where you put your fart sound, Jeremy.
Well, it has to fall in the right place. It's always in the same place. I don't ever move it. We have to make sure that the podcast lasts long enough to get to that point. Today, you know what I did, Shane? You know what I did today, Shane?
What'd you do today? Did you go to full practice?
I published my Sun Belt preview. That's when you know it's time for football. And, you know, I made some strange choices.
Not you.
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to ask me what those choices are.
Tell us about your choices.
I picked Southern Miss to win the West.
Shocker. Jeremy, that is the most lazy pick that you could make.
I don't know. They went 1-11 last year. Okay. So I picked Southern Miss, and you know what? I've really ended up talking myself into Georgia State, Shane Mellon.
What?
I feel like the East is a 2-team league or a 2-team division with JMU and Georgia Southern. I get that. They have the returning quarterbacks. They have a little bit of balance. Georgia Southern surprisingly good on defense this year. I get it. But then that next tier behind them, Appalachian State, ODU, and Georgia State. Georgia State's the recruiting that Dell Snooze McGee has put together in Atlanta is really good. So I'm kind of thinking I might be on the Georgia State bandwagon this year, Shane Mellon.
I don't know that this is the year for Georgia State, but
Okay.
I do like where they're heading.
Yeah.
In particular, because like Dell McGee's an Atlanta guy, really recruiting Atlanta. And I think, I kind of mentioned it before, like if Georgia State is really going to like take off, it's going to be because like they capture something locally and like get that city behind them. And, we talk about like I said, we joke about markets and whether the big city markets really matter, but like, it's really difficult to overcome the Georgia Bulldogs when you're down there. But like I've said this before, like if you'd have told somebody in the late 70s that, in a few years, Georgetown basketball is going to be the big deal in DC and everybody's going to love them and they're going to be a bigger deal than Maryland. Wow. Like that happened in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, John Thompson, he did it by recruiting and like with those local kids, and like maybe a version of that could happen at Georgia State. I don't necessarily think national championships and, Final Fours like that, but like I think it's the version of that happening where people get on the bandwagon a little bit because, hey, this is a cool local story. Like, even if it's not the Bulldogs.
Tibbs, did you notice that when I selected somebody from the East that's not plopped onto the East Coast, Shane Mettlen sort of got a little hi-hat on that.
What do you mean?
Did you catch that?
I'm treating Mettlen as a hater right now. So, I tuned him out. I actually turned my headset off while he was talking.
Yeah, because he was using a lot of 4-syllable words, and it's kind of sounding like a Kennedy out there. I get that. Okay, that's fine. But all right, you have to admit though, it's going to be JMU and Georgia Southern, but that triumvirate of ODU, Appalachian State, and I'm going to put Georgia State. That's the 3 to look out for, unless you're thinking Coastal Carolina, which I am not.
I don't know what to think of Coastal Carolina. I mean, even after we talked to Tim Beck, we talked to the players. I read the Phil Steels. I read the Athlons. They could go 0-12. They might even go 13-0 and win a Sun Belt Conference championship. And in both cases, it'd be like, sounds about right.
I feel like they're just mentally not always there. Like they get like a bad loss, and then they're like, screw it. Like last year's a perfect example. They go 3-1, or they start the season 3-1, and it looks like, okay, this is a pretty tough Coastal Carolina team. They get punched in the mouth by James Madison, something like 37-9 or something crazy like that. They don't recover ever from that. They win only 2 more games after that. So they just seem like a team that just, once the going gets tough, they don't get going at all. They just like, screw it. It's too hard. I'd rather just be on the beach. Join me in this criticism, Jane.
Well, I think we'll see, because it really appeared there were some chemistry issues there last year, and maybe those chemistry issues were more in the coach's box than anywhere. So maybe we'll see them get it together a little bit. Like, they could be the dark horse, because you're right, nobody's really talking about them. We talk about JMU and Georgia Southern because they're the favorites, and we talk about, can App State turn it around? What do they have? Like, ODU, I think, has kind of been labeled that dark horse because they've got a good quarterback and they've got a veteran coach and they've got Jason Henderson coming back, and names that people know. But maybe it is Coastal, because there's some talent coming back there, and if they resolve whatever their issues were last year, like they may knock some teams off.
Yeah, they did some addition to their defensive line, which is always something that you want to do. But I tell you, somebody who did make a lot of good additions, Tibbs, is your favorite guy, Dal Danger Zone Loggins.
Coach D'Lo.
Coach D'Lo. What he lacks in height, he makes up for it with extraordinary transfer portal abilities. He's put in some really nice guys on that team, including a couple of quarterbacks from some Power 5 places, a whole bunch of other guys that maybe normally doesn't come to Appalachian State. I don't know if you lose a Sean Clark, you lose some of the guys that you had there before, you're kind of starting over. I don't know if you're ready to compete. Shane, Shane, you weren't there. So I can't ask you this, but Tibbs, didn't you feel like Dow was ready to compete right away?
I did. And, I think that he's the right guy. They're going to make some progress, but I don't know how well they're going to adapt to essentially his NFL style in year one. And so I think that they'll be good. They won't be great. Probably a 6-win team, which, is better than they've been the past 2 years. So I think that they're going the right direction, but I think next year's the year that we see the Nears back on top.
So what is the idea about Dow Loggins, yes, in out in your neck of the woods, Shane? What's that reputation like?
I don't know that he has a reputation yet. I think for as much as App State gets talked about in my neck of the woods,
yeah,
like I haven't heard a lot specifically about either Loggins or this particular team. I think, there's always like feeling like App State's going to be tough to beat because they have been, but I don't know. I think if you ask the average fan on the street here, like even who App State's coach is this year, like I don't know they'd answer that question.
Sean Clark, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, I know he's kind of a under the radar kind of guy, but he's also just I know he has a charisma about him. Tibbs, am I right? Was he a quarterback at Arkansas? Did I read that correctly?
He played at Arkansas. I don't think he was a quarterback though.
Okay, because that would be kind of incredible to me. I know that he coached quarterbacks, but yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, well, I'm only bringing these things up because I'm bouncing off my own article off of you guys. Just make sure that I've got everything set. Yeah, the West. I can make great arguments for every team in the West. Every single team, Tibbs.
Oh, let's hear your ULM argument then.
I think ULM has a good team. They have some of the most most returning production in the league outside of Troy. You got year 2 of a great head coach, and you've got some pretty good talent on that team. So I don't understand why ULM couldn't compete this year.
Not bad for an FCS team.
Shane, Tibbs may never be cheerful again.
I'm beaten. And I blame Shane for it. Why? Because Shane is the representative of the East, and so he's guilty by association.
Yeah, if you want to put all your hate and anger on Shane, you be my guest. You just go ahead and you take your swings at Shane. Shane's man enough. Shane can take it. He's part of the legacy press. He knows when to duck and he knows when to take a solid hit. So you go ahead. You pour your anger out on Shane Metlin and not Jeremy Harper.
Dip, dive, dodge, duck.
Shane, do you have any thoughts on the West?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going to be, to some degree, a race to keep Texas State from grabbing a trophy on the way out the door. And I don't know that they're necessarily the favorite, but I think they're in that conversation, and I think everybody wants to make sure that doesn't happen, even if there's not a ton of ill will against Texas State. It just
there's ill will.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help your reputation too much if the team you lose also wins it on the way out. Then it kind of validates their idea that they're moving up. If they are in the middle of the pack, it continues to kind of say what we've talked about, that they've been okay athletically, but it's not a huge loss. So whether it be the Cajuns or the Red Wolves or somebody else that holds them at bay, I think a lot of people in the conference have a rooting interest in the West this year that maybe those people out east didn't have before.
You know what's funny about Texas State? Everybody kind of said the right things at Sunbelt Media Days. Hey, Texas State's been a great partner. We're glad that we had them for as long as we did. We wish them the very best in the new the Pac-12. Good luck. But also, nobody voted for Texas State players to be on a first or second team all Sun Belt team, which I thought was some kind of passive aggressive stuff that I enjoyed. And I wonder what kind of ovation they're going to get from the Sun Belt teams they visit. This year they go visit Arkansas State, Marshall, Louisiana, and Southern Miss. I'll be interested to see what kind of reception the Bobcats get there. That's gonna be fun.
But they're not eligible for the Sun Belt Conference Championship. I mean, they could claim the trophy, but they're not eligible, are they?
Why wouldn't they be eligible?
Because they're leaving.
Yeah, they're
still eligible. Yeah, I think they're still part of the conference until they officially leave.
No, we're kicking them out early. They're done. Relegation.
We should do that. Take all their Bubba Spleen.
Tell you, James Madison would not vote for that. They've been through that side of things already.
So yeah, I can pretty much make a good argument for every team. I actually was a big homer and picked Arkansas State to finish second. I feel like Texas State. I get feeling they had like a great team last year and didn't do what they should have done with it. I don't know if it's any better this year. So I kind of feel like they might disappoint again. I feel like the Cajuns could very well win it, but they also lost a lot this season. I mean, they lost a lot of talent. So it's going to be interesting to see this West, how it shakes up. We need to bring in some experts to tell us. Should we do that, Tim? Should we line up some experts?
We are the experts.
Well, yeah, I know that preeminently. Like on the Olympus, there are, how in Greek deities there's the major gods, and then there's a whole bunch of smaller gods. We're up there, we're on top, we're hanging out, and then there's a bunch of lower guys that maybe we can get some insight from.
Yeah, we need to get the Godfather on. He made it very clear in New Orleans, several buckets in, that he wanted to be on the show more often.
Yeah, I think he was hurt that we don't have. We're talking about Jay Walker.
The Godfather of the Sun Belt, yeah.
The mightiest man in the Sun Belt. He wants to be there. Who's the Georgia State radio guy?
Dave.
Yeah, we need Dave.
Yeah, Cohen.
Yeah. He was the one that got me. He was really one that sold me on Georgia State. So we need to get his perspective. Well, not about Del. Well, he was talking about how he was really impressed with how the locker room looked. He says he hadn't seen a locker room look that full of talent ever. Now, you and I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you, but I wasn't very impressed with Del McGee.
2 years in a row.
Last year, it was like, well, he has a cold. And this year, it was like, do you still have that cold? Because you bring zero energy to this interview. I don't know how this is possible, but that somehow, I guess he saves all that energy and charisma for when he enters people's living rooms and sits down and says, "Come to Georgia State," because he has brought it in a pretty.
Yeah, I think some people aren't super pumped to go to media day.
Yeah, I could see that.
Next year, Jeremy, we're moving off Radio Row and going to the lobby where they have couches, and we'll just pretend it's our living room.
I saw people doing that. Did you notice that there were a lot, not necessarily with the microphones, but getting the tape recorders out and doing interviews out there? It seemed like a nicer place to do it. We should do that. It won't be so loud.
It was probably cooler. Yeah, we wouldn't have people that are screaming into their mics the entire time.
We're not going to say who was screaming. Because
just go back and listen to our media day stuff, and you can listen to full podcasts, two for one.
There was one guy next to us who was a little loud. He already has the official radio voice anyway, so it carries. But as soon as the mic would come on, it was like boom, and would just totally cascade over our small table. Tibbs, I'm a little pissed, by the way.
Why now?
Well, yeah, I'm always a little surly. But I was looking through the photos from Sunbelt Media Days.
Mm-hmm.
None of us, the other podcasters, there are photographs of them. There were other people from Radio Row, other reporters. As if to say, hey, here's the people covering the Sunbelt. Where was us? Where were you and
You were
I,
not-
Tibbs?
You weren't dressed up. You were wearing a wife beater and flip flops. You didn't even have the smoking jacket.
I didn't wear the smoking. That might have been the problem. I'm a little disappointed. What do we have to do? How
we
many
did our own
times do we
pictures.
have to go? How long do we have to cover this league before we get some respect?
God, I've been covering it too long, maybe.
Tibbs will never be cheerful again. We should put Tibbs out of his misery, Shane. Let's go to promos, plugs, and parting shots. And I'm going to start with you, Shane, while Tibbs recovers.
Yeah. So I guess a parting shot. I actually, this maybe make me a little bit hypocritical because didn't I recommend Stick, the golf show?
You did.
On Apple TV fairly
You
recently.
recommended it.
It's okay. It's good. But then I see today, that stars Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Funny guy. I think a buddy of his is Will Ferrell, right?
I think they know each other, yeah.
I see today that Will Ferrell is going to have this golf comedy on Netflix, which just released Happy Gilmore 2, which I haven't watched yet, but I've not heard great things.
Yeah.
About why is there so much golf
I don't know.
coming to like these streamers? One was enough for me.
Mhm.
Like golf is a fine sport, but like why is golf the sport they're making all these shows about now? Like I don't know. That's nothing too profound there, but
Here's the thing about golf.
not that I like sports. I know Jeremy doesn't like sports.
I don't.
Like fiction shows, movies, whatever.
I really
Jeremy doesn't. I do, but let's spread it out. Like, how about a basketball show?
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Bowling or
Sure.
So how many golf shows do we really need in the span of a year?
I would take bumper pool. That would be great. Yeah. And here's the thing about golf, too. I do watch golf on TV. And I noticed that all the commercials that they play during golf is always like financial advisors. People are like, yes, I've got so much money in my retirement. Where do I need to put it? I mean, there's nothing really relatable about golf to a lot of people, yet we keep pumping out shows about it as if it is relatable. Like it has some sort, like it represents life somehow, or it's a metaphor for just being the common man. But it's not. It's golf really isn't that way. Golf is, we're going to carve out from some of the prettiest land out here, some private property that only a few people can play on. And we're going to make it sound like, well, this is like have you ever watched Shane, have you ever watched the Masters?
I have watched the Masters.
Every blade of grass gets like a damn a video vignette about how special it is. It drives me a batshit.
That
We're not
doesn't-
fans, we're patrons.
It doesn't bother me about the Masters because I like I like that there's a mystique about certain
Oh my god.
venues, and this goes for like just about any sport. Like I don't give a damn about NASCAR, but I love that there's this old short track in Martinsville, Virginia. That's just kind of like the Fenway Park or something of like that sport. Like I appreciate like romanticizing venues. So that doesn't matter to me as much about the Masters. I'll say that.
All right.
On that note, though, Shane,
Yeah.
did you watch the Speedway Classic and its fiasco?
I did not, but I followed along on social media that it was pretty much a fiasco.
It was Fire Festival for baseball.
Oh, okay.
95,000 people there, ran out of food, rain delayed the first night, even though it was like dark clouds and rain
Wait,
coming
is
in
the baseball game set at the racetrack?
at Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I did see that. I did see that was a mess.
Yeah.
They should have had a race going on while they were playing baseball. That would
That
have
was
been
the cool thing. They did have a pace car that when somebody hit a home run, did do a lap around the track.
awesome. Yes. Okay, baseball needs more of that. That would be great. You know what? I'm going to do my parting shot. It's a rant that I have every year. I'm just going to recycle the rant. Shane, I hope you don't mind. Tibbs, I hope you can bear with me. Coaches poll came out like yesterday. USA Today coaches poll. Usual suspects on it. Tacked at the end, the one group of 5 team, Boise State. Big surprise. Because, when the voters get together and they're voting on teams and they got 24 and they're like, oh, shit, I forgot to put a group of 5 team on there. There should be some representation. I don't know. Boise State, they've been good before. Let's put in Boise State. That's the safest pick you can possibly make, right? Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. I don't know. The point is that none of these teams are good. None of them have had to earn anything on the field. Everybody else that's not on this list from the coaches, not on this list from the upcoming AP, they all have to prove themselves. The rest of these teams, these top 25, they have to fail their way out. The rest of us have to work hard. These others, just given the benefit of the doubt. For what reason? No reason. Just vibes. Just vibes. These whole preseason polls is nothing but vibes because nothing is known. Nothing is proven. Nothing has been put out onto the field. It's just a bunch of sports writers and coaching SIDs probably pulling out names out of the hat. This has got to end. It's got to stop. It is artificially promoting a bunch of programs that do not deserve it. Play it on the field. That's my parting shot. Tibbs, I want your anger on this parting shot.
Like you want my parting shot, or you just want my rebuttal to yours?
Well, it depends. If your parting shot is the rebuttal to me, then yes. But unless you have a separate parting shot, though, I would go with that.
So I agree with you.
Okay.
I mean, you look at it, there's teams that are just like, dude, what are you doing in the top 25? You didn't finish even in the top 50 last year. Why do you think you deserve to be there now?
Mm-hmm.
It's really no different than even bringing it home to the Sun Belt. Why was Marshall not the preseason East favorite, knowing they're the defending champs? Yes, we know everybody left. They went to Hattiesburg, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you are the champion until you're not. That is justified. Just because you have a certain logo of a state or a generic bird, four-legged animal, whatever, you don't necessarily deserve to be in the top 25.
Wow. Okay.
On to my plug promo parting shot, though.
Okay.
It's been actually a good time to be able to rest R&R on the couch.
Oh, okay.
Netflix is your friend.
Yeah, watch Stick. Yeah. Oh, that's on Apple. I'm sorry.
Speaking of which, of Stick, the whole Happy Gilmore show.
Oh,
I did watch it. It's basically PGA versus Live as a comedy.
Okay. Go on.
And then trying to cram as many cameos as you possibly can into the show. There you go. I just summed it all up for you. Wow. But the show that I was really trying to plug more than anything, Untamed. It is a show about a girl that dies in a national park, and they have to kind of backtrack and figure out what's going on. Very good, but a show that you have to put your phone down on. Quit trying to tweet to the troll, Shane, and watch the damn show so that you stay in with it. And season 2 is coming soon.
Okay. All right. So that's a recommendation from you.
It is.
All right. Well, anything that can pull you out of these doldrums, Tibbs, I welcome it. I hope that this is the show that makes you at least forget about the pain of being a Warhawk for at least an hour a night.
Or until somebody else says that we're headed to the Southland.
Oh,